Psychological safety at work. Why survival is not inclusion. Hello, dears. For those who've been around for a while, you might have noticed that last Friday I did not do any publication of an episode on Empower Mind Talk. I would like to take a moment to explain that. I had myself and my story being published at a newspaper here in my region, or let me say in Karlsruhe or around the area. And I got the information that morning, and just a colleague of mine called me and was like, I'm sitting with my newspaper and I'm seeing you. And I didn't know that it will be published on that day. And that day was just for me filled with overwhelming. And I was just at, oh, that's why I couldn't make it to publish any episode. And I promise for the next time we will talk the next episode about the story in the magazine, because most people have come up and asked me, can we get deeper? So I would like also to take a chance. I'll be doing that on all social media platforms and also here. For those who listen to me, I'll get deeper on the article in the next coming episode. You are listening to Empower Mind Talk, navigating mental health, strength, and belonging. And let me tell you something, this is a real soul talk. I am your host, Maureen, a life and purpose coach, mental health advocate, Asia coach, author, and a fellow traveler on this winding path of healing, identity, and homecoming. Welcome back to Empower Mind Talk. This is a space where your work life still counts as your real life, where being professional does not mean pretending you are not human, and where we stop calling survival a win. If you have been carrying something from work that you can't quite name, you are in the right place. So let's get into it. There is a sentence people throw around like it solves everything. At least you have a job, and it's always good to have a job. And something like, okay, you have to be grateful. And sure enough, we are grateful for the jobs. And a job means stability, or can mean stability for each and everyone or whoever goes for the job. And it can mean opportunity, which is true. And it can mean growth. All leads to growth, which is perfectly sure. But gratitude does not replace a basic need. Being employed isn't automatically the same thing as being safe or feeling or having a feeling of belonging. And showing up every day isn't a proof that you feel included. So let's make this a little bit real with a story that might feel uncomfortably familiar. Imagine someone named Maya. She's capable, reliable. She hits deadlines. She is the person people come to when things really need to get done. From the outside, it looks like she's thriving, but inside, Maya walks into meetings like she's entering a room where she has to earn oxygen. Not because she's incompetent, not because she's too sensitive, but because she learned over time that one misunderstood comment can follow her. One honest disagreement can be labeled as attitude. One moment of emotion can be taken as lack of professionalism. So she does what a lot of people do. She scans, she edits, she calculates. And that's what working without psychological safety often look like. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes there is no shouting behind it, no obvious conflict that can lead to like being seen. No headlines were the incidents or something like that. It's quieter than we might think. You still produce. Yes. You still contribute. Yes. But you are constantly asking yourself questions before you speak. How will this land? What will they assume I meant? Is this the moment I get punished for being direct? Should I soften it? Should I smile more? Should I say less? This is where code switching comes in. People often praise code switching as a strength, which it is at a point. Like it's just social intelligence. Yes, it is. And yes, it's true. It can be skillful, but let's name the other side. It's also labor. Because code switching isn't just changing your words, it's monitoring your entire presence, how you disagree, how much confidence is allowed, how much emotion is appropriate, how you dress, how you laugh, how you explain yourself, how you make yourself smaller or less visible so you don't become a target. And the thing is, blending in can look like success. That's the mystery about it. It can even come with rewards, praise for being easy to work with, compliments for being so articulate, promotions that come only after you've proven you won't make anyone uncomfortable. But what's the hidden cost? Over time, it can start to feel like you are leaving parts of yourself outside the building every morning and carry a split or that split who you are versus who you perform or you perform to be. And of course, this gets heavy with time. Now let's talk about what this does to the mental health. Because your body keeps receipts even when you try to talk yourself out of what you feel. A workplace without psychological safety keeps your nervous system on alert. You might not be physically unsafe, but emotionally, your system doesn't relax at all. It stays ready to defend, ready to explain, ready to prevent fallouts. And that can show up in so many ways. For example, chronic stress that never really turns off, emotional exhaustion that sleep doesn't actually fit, imposter syndrome. And this is something I talk about most of the time when it comes to women in the STEM sectors. I go to universities for these. I am at women conferences when it comes to like IT women, mostly women working in the men-dominated sectors, women that are being in the leadership for the first time, and actually multicultural teams. And these are some workshops I gave on last year, which also imposter syndrome is found, and it grows even when your performance is strong. Burnout that comes from constant self-protection and eventually disengagement, because at some point your mind tries to conserve energy by checking out every single thing. And if any part of you is thinking, maybe I am not or just not resilient enough, I would like to interrupt that thought gently but clearly. This usually isn't about capability. It's about risk management. When you are always managing risk, you may function well, yes, but it costs you yourself. Survival mode is efficient for sure. It gets you through. It helps you adapt, but it is not sustainable. It is not the same thing as belonging. Please don't forget that. This is where we need to be honest about things like inclusion, because the word inclusion, like I said, for example, gets used a lot. And sometimes it's used like branding. The poster goes up, the statements get posted, the diversity panel happens once a year. But here is the truth. Diversity without safety is merely just decoration. Representation without voice turns into performance. Being invited into rooms but not taken seriously is not belonging. Being at the same table but afraid to speak is not inclusion. If you can't disagree without being punished, if you can't ask questions without being shamed, if you can't make a mistake without being used as a permanent character judgment, then what you have isn't safety. It is a workplace where people learn to disappear in small ways. So, let's say a truth that some people need to hear out loudly. You are not difficult for needing psychological safety. You are not unprofessional for wanting respect. And you are not ungrateful for naming harm. Wanting safety is not a luxury request or a luxurious request. It is a foundation. It's what allows people to collaborate honestly, to make or to take healthy risks, to innovate, to learn, and to actually contribute without fear. If this is landing in your body right now, let's slow down for a moment and check in. And like I always say, just when you are in a position to do so, if you're driving and you can't stop for a while or doing any activities that can't allow you to pause or slow down for a moment, please skip this part for later. You don't have to earn the right to trust yourself. Remind yourself, I am not making these up. My body is responding to my environment. If you have been tense for months, for example, if your stomach tightens before meetings, if you replay conversations from or after work, if you feel relief only when you are away from your job, that's information that you need to replay and try to work on. And it's not a weakness. So let's ground these with 3 truths that you can carry with you throughout the week. Number 1, safety supports performance. Fear limits it. When you don't have to self-protect, your creativity returns, your focus improves, your confidence becomes natural instead of forced. You don't waste energy bracing for impact. Number 2, you deserve to bring your full self to work, not just the acceptable one or the acceptable part, not just the polished version, not just the version that never challenges anything. You were not hired to be a shadow of yourself. Number 3, inclusion without safety is incomplete. Belonging isn't something that can be announced. It has to be experienced. It has to be felt in the way people respond to you, the way your input is valued, and the way your humanity is handled when things are hard or when things get hard. And now, an affirmation you can turn or return to, especially on the days you feel yourself shrinking. Say these with me. I deserve psychological safety. My voice matters. I am allowed to exist at work without fear. And before we close, I want to come back to Maya for a moment. It's not, or it isn't that she suddenly becomes tougher just like that. It's that she finally names what's happening to her. She stops calling it just how work is and recognizes it as a missing foundation that she needs for herself to be true to herself. And whether the next step is a boundary or a conversation or support from allies, or even planning a next exit for herself, she begins from truth instead of self-belief. And that's where we always need to begin. And how the story starts to change, not overnight, not like just for instant, but it's real. And that makes the change be felt with you as a person, or within you as a person. If this episode reflects something you have been living, share it with someone who needs language for what they are feeling. Subscribe to Empower Mind Talk, and if this space has supported you, leave a review so more people can find it. And remember this, you were not hired to disappear. You were hired because you bring value to the working place you are. So, until next time, may you feel grounded, may you feel respected, and may you remember that survival is not the goal, but belonging is the goal.